Happy Friday, everyone. Allan here, coming to you from the Oscar Tortola group. So today's going to be part 2 of a 3-part series of videos. Last week I released part 1 on mindset. So today I'm going to go into the second major step, go into a little bit of detail about that, give you a gist of last week's video, and then next week I'll give you a 6-step action plan. I'll go into detail about that, on how to change your limiting beliefs into liberating truths to help you go ahead and achieve your goals. Now, in last week's video, part 1, I discussed the first step, which is to recognize the power of your beliefs and the power that mindset can have in helping you achieve your goals. Basically, in a nutshell, if you don't believe it'll make a difference, chances are it won't make a difference. The skepticism and the doubt sets in. It makes you less likely to believe that it'll have any effect, and chances are it won't. So if you haven't checked out last week's video on the importance of mindset, go ahead and check it out, and that's going to be the first step. The second major step, which is what I'll be focusing on today, is on confronting your limiting beliefs. But how can you confront something if you're not familiar where it is or what it is exactly? So I'll be going into detail about that. Now, everyone has limiting beliefs, so don't worry if you start to notice that you have a couple, or even if you don't realize you do have limiting beliefs, because there are 4 signs that'll tell you whether something could be a limiting belief that's impacting your ability to achieve your goals. Now, the first sign is black and white thinking. This is basically when we assume we failed if we don't achieve perfection, or if we don't do something as well as we initially intended. Now, remember, we're not going to be great at something the first time we try it. In fact, most people don't succeed the first time they try it. A lot of the times, we're not too great at something until we practice it, do it over and over again, fail multiple times, and then we actually become good at it. So don't worry if you don't do something as well as you expected. Just take note of it and try to find ways to improve. Instead of putting yourself down, try to find ways you can improve, so that way next time you're a little bit closer to that perfection. Now, the second sign is personalizing. This is when we blame ourselves for something that we had little control over. And oftentimes this will happen because we thought we could have influenced the situation, but in reality, we don't have a whole lot of control over external factors, over how somebody else feels about something, over something that occurred in a different state, in a different city. Oftentimes we have little control over those things. So next time you think about blaming yourself or holding yourself responsible for something, stop and take a minute to realize whether you actually had an influence on the outcome. A lot of the times we don't. But the good thing is we do have a lot of influence over our internal situation. And by changing that, we can help make a greater impact on our external life. Now, the third one is catastrophizing. This is when we assume the worst with very little to no evidence. Oftentimes it's really easy to blow things out of proportion because we make assumptions, or we think things are a way that they really aren't. So next time you want to go ahead and blow something out of proportion or assume the worst, stop, take a look at all of the facts, and realize whether it's something worth really stressing over or making a big deal about, because oftentimes things aren't always as bad as they seem, and even if they are, sometimes it's out of our control. That goes back to personalizing. So the third one is catastrophizing. Don't assume the worst when you have very little to no evidence. Last but not least, the fourth sign that it may be a limiting belief is universalizing. This is when we take a bad experience and assume it's true across the board. It's super easy to generalize about people or things. Oftentimes we do it without even noticing. But if you had a bad experience in one situation, that doesn't mean it's always going to be the case in other situations. For example, if you had a bad experience at a restaurant, that doesn't mean that you're going to have the same negative experience at another restaurant of the same name. Oftentimes they're run by different people, different employees. Things could operate a little bit differently. So you can't always generalize one bad experience to a lot of bad experiences, or a lot of new experiences that are similar, because oftentimes there's more to it. So next time you think you might be doing that, take a step back and realize that it could be a little bit different. Now, equally as important, and it's going to be very important in next week's video, is trying to think about where these limiting beliefs originate from. It's a lot easier to go ahead and change these beliefs if we know where they stem from, whether it's the experience or whether it's something we were taught. If we can try to pinpoint the source, it's a lot easier to change and even realize that we've been thinking such a way all along when it really didn't make sense to. So go ahead and take a minute out of your day to go ahead and think about these things. Notice if you have any limiting beliefs. In next week's video, I'll go ahead and go over a 6-step plan to go ahead and change these limiting beliefs into liberating truths. And the first part is to recognize them, and I'm gonna have everyone who's participating write them down so we can go ahead and change that mindset and get you one step closer to achieving your goals. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave it in the comments below, or you can reach out to me personally. And as always, the Oscar Tortola Group is your smart choice in real estate.